You're gonna love Beets hot and sweet pickles. Stay tuned. For Beets hot and sweet pickles, the recipe calls for 2 gallons of the Mount Olive kosher dills, 6 cloves of garlic, 4 pounds of sugar, and regular sized Tabasco sauce. Problem's getting the 1 gallon jugs of pickles around here, so I've gotten 4 of the 80-ounce can or jars. That doesn't come out exactly to beat the 2 gallons that we talked about, but it's gonna work out close enough that we're not gonna have any problems. So let's get started. Traditionally, when I've cut these pickles, I've cut them in just random sizes, kind of like that. However, I'm making these for an event next week, and I want everything's be uniform size. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of these cutters like this. That'll make sure everything's uniform size and probably a little bit quicker in the long run. As I cut these, sometimes you're going to have some that you don't like the looks of. They're too soft, got some stem on them. I just cut those off, put them on the side. I may try work with them later. A lot of times I just kind of throw them out. Typically, when you cut these, you'll place them in a crock. I don't have a crock here. I bought this thing a couple years ago. It works great. This is the only thing we use it for. Because once you're done with it, it's going to have that pickle smell to it. This is the only thing I use it for. Probably once a year. Right now, we're at 2 gallons for 2 bottles of pickles. Another thing I want to note real quick here before I forget it, I will not put this pickle juice back into it. We're going to discard this pickle juice. Sometimes I'll save it for soaking chicken in, or something like that. But the pickle juice that came in these jars, we will not use in this process. When we come back at the end of this, when we go to jar it, it will have more than enough juice. That's we're already saturating the pickles to make up for it. Now the recipe calls for 6 garlic cloves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to peel these cloves, and I'm actually going to cut them in smaller pieces. That way, what I found is when I do it that way, there's more chance of there being a clove in each jar that I'm making. Because this will generate probably 8 or 9 jars, mason-sized jars of pickles. This batch won't necessarily matter too much because I'm going to put them back in this type of jar again for transporting to the event this weekend. Okay, here's kind of what I've ended up with. I'll scoop all these up. You go ahead and just drop them in there. Next item is sugar. Now another recipe said pour about 4 pounds. I'm going to just pour a whole 5-pound bag. Okay, it's not going to make that much of a difference, especially since we were a little bit over on the pickles. I kind of like doing it that way. That way there's a cap on them. Then I'm going to pour my Tabasco sauce on it. And I'm just going to pour my Tabasco sauce all over the whole top layer. Then we're going to cap it. We're going to let it sit for a while. And I'm going to use this whole bottle. In fact, I may just add just a part of another little bottle in here too. The recipe I have says 1 regular sized bottle. I'm thinking it's probably a bottle next size up from this. So I've actually added a bottle and about that much of this other bottle. And these are what, 2-ounce bottles I have I'm using. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover this with a lid and we're gonna let it set for 24 hours. I'm gonna put the lid on it. It's gonna sit for 24 hours. In 24 hours, we're gonna come back and we're gonna stir this up, mix it up good, and we'll come back in another 24 hours and actually jar it and put it back in these jars. About 2 hours ago is when we started this process. And you can already tell there's plenty of pickle juice in there for them. The sugar's starting to melt down. Everything's starting to blend. And like I said, about 24 hours, we'll stir it, let it set for another day, then we'll put it back in the jars. These have been sitting for about 24 hours, a little longer. I'm gonna stir them up, let them sit for another 24 hours. Here's 2 of the 3 cans I filled the other night. I forgot to film when I canned them, but I'm down here with this vent today. Here they are. We'll use them tomorrow.